Hello folks, this is Jeff Phillips with SmokingMeat.com, and today we're going to be looking at the Country Smokers pellet smoker. This is the unit I used last week on the chuck roast burn-ins that I did, and I had a lot of questions about it. A lot of people interested in its size and you know what you could do. So we're going to look at this really closely and show you some of the features and go over some of the specs. So let's get right on it. All right, this is the Country Smoker I was talking about. This is made by Danson's. It's the parent company for Pit Boss and Louisiana Grills, and they also make the Country Smokers brand. And you'll see some similarities between this one and the other smokers that they make. As you can see, this has locking latches on the lid, which I like. That way if you're traveling with it, you can store the components on the inside, and you don't have to worry about them, the lid coming open and everything falling out. First thing I want to show you is the hopper here, which is on the small side for a pellet smoker, but it does hold about 3.5 pounds, which means you're going to get about a little over 3 hours of smoking in there. And it's pretty easy to add pellets, you know, if you need to. If you're doing something that takes, say, 5 or 6 hours, halfway through you can just add some more pellets. You can just kind of keep an eye on it. It's not a real big deal, and we'll probably fill that up here in a little bit so we can fire it up. I want to show you the grate. See, we're looking at about 14 1/4 that way by 13 front to back, and then of course this little extra grate here on the top is about 12 inches from left to right, and then we're looking at about 5 1/4 back to front. So total of about 256 square inches of cooking space. And you can definitely do, like I say, a chuck roast. You could put a rack of ribs on here cut in half. You could do a half a brisket. I think you could even do a pork. I've never done a pork shoulder on this, but I believe you could do a 6 to 8 pound pork butt. You've got some clearance. Actually, let's just go ahead and measure the clearance here while we're thinking about it. Jeffrey, come around here to the side. So you have about 5 inches of clearance there. So say as long as your pork butt was no more than about 4.5 inches tall, you could probably do that just fine. And that goes for almost anything else. What this smoker is really good for is like camping, you know, just going out to the park for a few hours. This thing would fit really well in an RV. So, you know, 2 to 4 people, you could probably cook plenty of food for, you know, a small group. And if you're somebody that lives by yourself, or it's just you and your spouse, this would be perfect for that. This grate here is actually removable. You just lift up like that and this pops right out. And I'll lay this over here on the side. This grate here. Now all these parts on this smoker are so small they easily fit into a dishwasher. So every once in a while I'll throw the grate and the other pieces here into the dishwasher to give them a good clean. And now this is one of the features that you'll see on almost all of the Pit Boss smokers, and that is this rounded heat deflector. And it's got this piece here that slides to the side, which allows the flames to come up through these cutouts, these notches here. And when you want the flames to come up, you can move it to the side. When you want to just do normal smoking, you just cover them up. So it's that simple. And this just kind of sits in there, so that's removable for washing, like I said. This piece here, as you can see, it's got a notch here that kind of holds it in place. To remove it, you just lift it up from the right side and it lifts out. Now what you're looking at here is the burn pot, and if you'll zoom in right in there, Jeffrey, and show the now that thing sticking out at the bottom is the igniter, and that's what gets hot at the very beginning and ignites your pellets. Now the hole in the left side, the large hole, is where the auger is, and that's where the pellets are moved from the hopper into the burn pot via that auger, and that moves at different speeds depending on the temperature you have set. and that just works really well. As you can see, let me put this heat deflector back in, and I'll show you how the grease drains. I'll go ahead and put this piece back in as well, right over the top. Now, as the grease drains down, it runs to the sides here, and then runs down here to the trough, and then the trough exits out through the spout on the side into this pan. Now, this little pan here, this little grease catcher, is removable, so you can take it in and wash it, dump it, clean it, whatever you need to do. And when you're traveling, when I'm moving it to somewhere, I usually take this off and set it on the inside. Make sure it doesn't get damaged, and it just pops right back on when you need it. And of course, the grate is real easy to put back in when you get through washing it, cleaning it. And of course, to put this in, you just pop it on like that, and then just like that. Now let's take a look at the controller. This controller has an off setting, but then it has a smoke setting which maintains about 180 degrees, and then it jumps up in about 25-degree increments all the way up to 350. Then at 350 it jumps up 50-degree increments up to 400, 450, and then high is 500 degrees. The lower you have the heat, the more smoke you're going to get. So it just makes it really easy to apply smoke to something for about an hour. Then you could say crank it up to 500 and put a good sear on a steak by opening up your heat deflector there and letting the flames come up to the grate. So we're going to get ready to fill this thing up with some pellets here in a few minutes. Now, I've got a solo cup here full of pellets that I've had. It's just a competition blend from Pit Boss that I'm gonna pour in. And I'm gonna go ahead and fill this thing up. We got some Boudin. I think I've got a couple links of sausage, and we're gonna fit as much of that on as we can. And I think that'll be good right there. So I'm going to get about 3 hours of heat out of that. So that'll be more than enough to do some Boudin and some sausage, which normally Boudin would take about 2 hours. The sausage, about the same, maybe an extra 30 minutes or something for the sausage. But that just kind of snaps into place. As you can see, these notches that run all the way across the back side of the lid, that's where the smoke exhausts out. And it just takes the place of some other smokers that have a chimney. So let's get this thing fired up. I'm going to remove this for now. I don't know if I'll need it. I'm just going to set that to the side. I'm just going to turn this thing on smoke. I've already got it plugged in. We're going to leave that open until it fires up, and then we'll close the lid. That normally takes somewhere around 5 minutes or so. We'll start seeing smoke. So once that thing starts smoking, we'll come back and show that to you. We just turned it on about 3 minutes ago. We are now getting some smoke. That's pretty quick action. And this thing will smoke for probably a minute or so, maybe a couple of minutes, and then it'll fire into, I think I just heard the flames kick in. Now once the flames kick in, you'll see the smoke disappear very quickly. And at that point, I will close the lid and we're ready to cook once it gets up to temperature. As you can see, the smoke is diminishing. When those flames kick in, it literally burns up the smoke before it's able to leave the firebox. So it's that burn pot is a real efficient fire. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down and let it get up to about 180, and we're going to go get the sausage and the Boudin from the house, and we'll be right back. So we've got some good smoke coming out of this thing. I just come out here. It's a little warmer than it normally would be set on smoke because it's sitting in the direct sunlight, and it's just absorbing a lot of that heat, but I'm actually okay with that. We're ready to put our Boudin, our sausage in there. Looks like it's sitting right about 200 right now. And we're getting some really good smoke, as you can see. So let's see how we can fit this on here. I'm going to leave just a tiny bit of space between each one so the smoke can get down in there. I may not be able to fit all of it, but I'm going to try. See if we can fit some of these. Actually, let's do something like that. Something like that. Something like that. See if I can make this thing work for us. And I believe we're about to set a couple of pieces up here. I'm able to put about 8 pieces of Boudin on here and 4 smoked sausages. And we'll go ahead and shut that lid down here so we can. I'm actually going to lock one side of that to keep it tight. See, now we're showing it's down to 185. Typically smoke will hold about, the smoke setting will hold about an average of 180 degrees. And I wouldn't be alarmed if that went below that by 10 or 15 degrees or over that by 10 or 15 degrees. That's how pellet smokers create smoke. That fluctuation is what allows the pellets to smolder for a little bit and then go into flames. And that alternating between smoldering and flames is what maintains your temperature as well as your smoke. So I know a lot of people get a little bit frustrated with smokers, with pellet smokers that fluctuate like that, but what really matters is the average. And it works just like your home oven, which also fluctuates 15 or 20 degrees most likely. But we're getting, as you can see, we're getting some really good smoke. We've had constant smoke since we've been out here, and that's really good for a pellet smoker. So we're going to let these things smoke for about 2 hours. We'll come back and show you these when they get done and let you get a look at them, and we'll see you then. The Boudin and the sausage has been on the country smoker, pellet smoker, for about 2 hours. You can see we're still getting some really good smoke. We've got good smoke throughout. Let's open this up and take a look. Oh yes, that stuff looks good. Look at that. That is just beautiful. Of course, the Boudin, you saw it was a much lighter color when it went in. The smoke has just give it this brilliant color. And I want to show you the pellet usage as well. So 2 hours at low smoke, and that's the damage is done. I'm going to go ahead and shut this thing down, and we're just going to turn it. It's on smoke now. We're going to turn it down to off, and that will continue to run for a few minutes while it burns up the remaining pellets, and then it'll shut itself off. And look at that. Wow. That's just beautiful Boudin. I don't know if you've ever done Boudin this way on a smoker, but I didn't do anything to it. I took it out of the package, put it right on the smoker, and the skin here is going to be crispy. The inside is just real tender, and that's going to be delicious. So I'm going to go ahead and take all this off of here. See if I can do this. Yeah, I can tell that skin is real crispy there on that Boudin. That's just exactly what you want. We just kind of slice this up, eat it with crackers. It's just a really good thing to do as appetizers. You can actually take a piece of Boudin like this and cut it up in about 4 pieces And so with these 8 pieces cut into fourths, you end up with about 32 appetizers. So that's also a nice way to do it. This also goes good with fried eggs if you haven't tried that. So we've turned this thing off. It's going to shut itself down. Just close it at this point, and we're good to go. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today as I went over the features and the specs on this Country Smokers pellet smoker. Really enjoyed showing you this and cooking up some boudin and sausage on it. And be sure and hit that subscribe button down below if you want to be notified of future videos. And of course, if you have any questions or comments about this, go ahead and post those down below in the comment section. And until next time, this is Jeff Phillips with SmokingMeat.com.